Welcome to the Vantage Point. I'm your host, Taylor Chapman. Retired Colonel Bob McLaughlin, welcome back. How's it going?
Always a pleasure to be here as we end the month of January in 2026.
Yep, it is the new year, but it's a very exciting time, especially here at Mount Carmel. Why is that?
10 years. We opened the doors of Mount Carmel in 2016. Hard to believe that it's been 10 years, but It's been probably the most rewarding experience other than serving our nation that I've had.
You were here when we started, that's correct?
By myself.
Yeah.
I showed up in August 12th, 2014 with the late, great Jay Cimino, and we were off and running to execute a vision of establishing a beacon of support to help military veterans and their families.
I was reading through some statistics, and I believe it was around 30% of nonprofits ever created, like filed with the IRS, make it to a decade. Only 30%. So what do you think's made us different over the last decade, and why do you think some fail?
I will tell you, I don't know why others fail, because I mean that's them. But for us, it's really what Jay told me. You know, of course, coming out of the military, I'm worried about how we're going to fund it, and he said, "Don't worry about money. Focus on building programs and helping people, and the money will come." And I was always like cautious about that, but he was absolutely right. If you do good work, build good partnerships, have something of value to those you serve and to those who provide resources, you will succeed. And we've done it.
I mean, that's a good standpoint. Maybe some focus on the money too much because they think they need the money to accomplish the mission, and then the mission starts lacking, and then no one feels the need to support them.
Well, I will tell you, I've been connected to some organizations that started with a great vision, but they didn't do the detailed work on what are you going to do, what's the best practice, and they focused on money. And money alone isn't going to get the job done. You have to be delivering something of value in order to start and sustain any business, whether it's profit or nonprofit.
What problems existed back 10 years ago before Mount Carmel Veterans Service Center existed? What problems existed back then that motivated the foundation of this organization?
So for me, when I worked very closely with a lot of great people on Fort Carson to deal with resiliency and wellness and families. And I knew that was an issue for veterans. And when Mr. Cimino approached me in 2013 and said he wanted to do something to help veterans in Colorado Springs, and he gave me 2 days to give him a prospectus on what that would be, I knew exactly what I wanted to do: family services, employment, providing resources and counseling. I mean, I used the model that we used for active duty and tried to basically reverse engineer it for veterans. And that's what brought us to the point we are today.
What were some of the problems you kind of identified, not so much in the community, but in starting a nonprofit? What are some things that you kind of envisioned that were going to be hard that maybe didn't end up being hard, and then what ended up actually being difficult?
There's all aspects in communicating effectively, building partnerships, aligning with people. Anytime you start something new, you've got to make sure that you're building a team, and that's always a challenge. There's 3 things I ask people today that tie into what we do. 1 is that nobody falls through the cracks. 2 is that if you have a superpower and want to partner with us, do so. And then number 3 is fuel for the engine. So each one of those 3 things, right? The first is that nobody falls through the cracks. You've got to have a good baseline for customer service, ways that people, veterans, military, and their families can come to you and get services. And that's problem 1, because the number 1 thing is you can't succeed in anything unless you're doing good services. So for me, like Jay said at the beginning, build good services. And then once you build those services, you got to make sure people know about them and are coming to get those services.
Right.
And then number 2, when you talk about having a superpower, we can't do anything without strong partnerships in behavioral health. You know about the job fair that we just had I think the number was 190 vets came to the job fair, 35 employers. So to build a place that, 10 years ago, if I could envision a whole floor of a building packed with employers and veterans coming to get jobs is awesome. That's just one of the things that's important, working with partners. And then, of course, fuel for the engine. Everything that we do, it comes at a cost. And when you talk about helping people, funders, whether it's federal, whether it's local, whether it's state, whether it's public, whether it's private, they want to put their money somewhere where they know that it's providing good services. So in order to capture data and statistics, you owe people that when it comes to grants. So that's another thing that's very important.
Yeah, that first rule, making sure no one falls through the cracks, is really salient, because I feel like veterans, at the first sign of mishap, the VA denied me, or the VA canceled my appointment, blah, 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 they start falling, and then they just kind of let themselves fall through the cracks. So maybe, and I'm sure you have a ton of stories over the last decade, but is there one story in particular, or maybe a few, where you caught somebody falling through the cracks that just really changed their whole outlook on life?
Oh, there's countless, but it's really, providing hope where there's hopelessness. Homeless prevention, suicide prevention, battling the stress of dealing with the economic changes. So to me, anytime someone walks in our doors that might be hopeless, to actually give them a lifeline, it's just so rewarding. And there's so many different examples of somebody who either didn't know and they came in and we were helped them stay housed, get a job, get counseling where they might have been afraid to ask. Every day we do those things, and it's just awesome to watch.
Well, let's do like a quick reassessment. So 10 years ago, we identified the problems that motivated Mount Carmel to be founded. We're at our 10-year mark. What does it look like the next 10 years? What problems exist now that we need to start getting ahead of to ensure people don't keep slipping through the cracks moving into 2030? That's scary to say.
There'll always be the impacts of the war on terror for years to come. As the veterans get older, they'll still be struggling with some of the impacts of combat operations, whether they're 30 or 70. We're still helping Vietnam veterans now, and you know how long ago Vietnam was.
Yeah.
So to me, the impacts of when people tell you, well, the wars are over, there's always going to be service members that are struggling with something in their lives that we need to keep our core competencies strong. There'll always be the need to provide job placement. There'll always be the need to provide low barrier behavioral health care. There'll always be the need to provide supportive services. So those basic core competency, we're committed to keep them going, to adjust whatever the trends are with employment, to make sure that access to care is easy, and then to spread. I can't tell you in 5 years that there's going to be another Mount Carmel somewhere, but we have to continue to work on that. What I really want to do is provide more outreach, with our Veteran Connections program, and get some more representatives working with rural veteran service officers in the state of Colorado and beyond. So to me, that's what it looks like. Making sure our core competencies of behavioral health, of transition and employment, of supportive services are strong and continue to get better. And then making sure that we can connect to anybody that needs help and needs it today, not next month, not next week, but today. So that's critical.
So the last 10 years have really just formed a really solid foundation. We're kind of got the programs thing figured out, got fuel for the engine, ensuring people aren't falling through the cracks. The next 10 years are really going to be about spreading your reach, trying to reach more people in need.
Number one, that no one falls through the cracks so that we're able to reach more people. I'll always try to expand to wherever I can, and I can't tell you where the satellite offices will be, but we're always looking to do that.
Well, I know you're a values guy. Obviously, being in the military, we operate on a set of values. What values have you instilled into this organization that has led to its success? Because I feel like values are a big part. Whether you can say them or not, you're kind of living by them, just being here. So what are those values?
Well, if you look at the 7 Army values, right?
Yeah.
Leadership, loyalty, duty, respect for others, selfless service, integrity, personal honor, and courage, right? Integrity, especially in the business world, especially in the nonprofit world, people want to know that you have integrity and you're going to deliver a solid product. And the funders want to know that whatever you say, you mean it and you're actually delivering. Loyalty is tremendously important. Loyalty to the people you're serving, loyalty to the people that are providing resources to you are very important. And then, courage to maybe take a risk or step out on the ledge or start something new. So, loyalty, integrity, courage are 3 that come to mind immediately.
Yeah, values are important. And I think we kind of all carry our own values in a way, but we might not be able to put a finger on them. But I like what you said there. Is there a team member on the Mount Carmel team or maybe a program that you want to just highlight that's been just exponentially beneficial over the last 10 years?
I'll highlight each of them, really.
Yeah.
Let's start with John Dixon Transition and Employment. That's our oldest program. We did the job fair this week, which is pretty fantastic, where we talk about a beacon of support and we're able to gather employers and bring veterans to a place and make it easy for them. That's just one example. Shannon Olin and what she does with Military Veteran Family Services. We talked about in our meeting this morning about everything that they're doing with homeless prevention and housing. That is a tremendous challenge wherever we are in our state to make sure that those who are housed stay housed and to make sure those who aren't housed that are homeless have an opportunity to become housed. And we're part of the process. Her team works every day, and that's just one specific challenge. Kirsten Belair with behavioral health, to be able to do low barrier care where we're providing services with interns to help them out is fantastic. You see Justin and with the Greet and Connect team out front. When you're front facing, when someone walks into our building, they want to feel loved and respected. To be able to deliver that service is hugely important. We added Joe Regan in the VBOC team. That's more than just helping entrepreneurs. That's linking to the community and making sure that everyone is okay. And then you put with operations and programs, Paul Price and Mark Smith, who are kind of overarching in there. To be able to make sure that the programs are solid, that we're assessing correctly. Because if you don't do a good assessment and aren't being agile, you're never going to succeed. And then on top of that, when you add James Harrington in the development team, right, getting fuel for the engine, everybody, all the directors and their teams have a unique blend that makes what we do great. And the good news for me is they work as a team. And that's really what, anytime I round the corner and see those flags, I'm kind of skipping in the morning, right, which is a gift for me to be able to do that. Say, I'm going to get into another day and make this happen. So not to single anyone out specifically, but all of them are doing great work. Yeah.
You're kind of revealing the secret sauce here in 10 years of success, and it's a well-oiled machine. It's the team behind the curtain, grinding. Is there anything that kind of goes on behind the scenes at Mount Carmel that maybe the community doesn't know, but is absolutely essential for our success?
Well, absolutely. It's the team, right? Mm-hmm. We do training. We bring partners in. This morning we had Team Rubicon in talking to the team. We do sessions that make our communication strong. All the things behind the scenes, like strong communications, like what you're doing with the programs here. Those things are critical because if you don't have good synergy, good communications, good advertisement, what James is doing for fundraising to make sure that we're solid with partners, solid with ambassadors. All of those things aren't direct services, but they contribute to the direct services.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just a lot of small little things that keep this team well-rounded. I feel like, we do holiday cookouts. We do little things like that all the time that brings the team, the family together, interacting where we're not talking about business. And I think that's so important. You have to have, keep it professional, but you have to have a personal relationship within your professional relationships as well.
Well, yeah, and when you talk about helping that no one falls through the cracks, that's our clients. Mm-hmm. We got to make sure we're doing the same thing with our staff.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyone who saunters through our doors, we're not come and go. They're not, or we're not a burger joint where they're coming in to get their favorite burger,
right,
and they're happy. They're coming in because they have an issue,
right.
And most people that come in aren't normally in a good mood. You've got to help them. And that's stress in itself. So to try to mitigate the stress on people who are in the service business every day is tremendously important. Because if they can't do what they do in a very professional manner, then we're not going to be successful.
Yeah. Here's a question. What are the origins of the Veterans Voice, now known as the Vantage Point, but why have a radio show as a nonprofit? It's a very unique thing to do, and we've transformed, into a global show at this point. So I think some people may be curious why have a radio show, which has now evolved into a podcast. But how did this kind of start?
Well, way back when it was with KRDO down the street, when it became Veterans Voice, and we had an opportunity to partner with them. Dean Miller, who was working with us at the time, really was a help on this. And, for me, I wanted to highlight partners, tell a good veteran story, and then use the podcast to make sure no one falls through the cracks, right? The more we're able to tell the story about what we're doing, have people listen to us, number one, helps us connect to people so they don't fall through the cracks. So they're able to say, oh, I can go to Mount Carmel, I can get help. And that was really the number one thing, to get the word out there, to make sure that the three things are in play. When you ever communicate, it's no one falls through the cracks, there's strong partnerships, and there's fuel for the engine.
Yeah. I'm able to see all the analytics on YouTube, and we have listeners all over the place. But I think, knowing that it's coming from Mount Carmel Veterans Service Center might get left up in the air sometimes. So I just want to really reiterate that. Like, this is a production of Mount Carmel Veterans Service Center, and the whole intention is to just reach as far as we can, remind people that they're not alone, share a good veteran story, share some insight, and just share the good word. Yeah,
and when you talk about what we're doing here now, people want to know when you have unique guests like Ted.
Yeah.
People want a good story. They want to know veteran stories. They can relate to it. So that's important.
Well, what else you got? We're kind of just gotten into the new year. The holidays is always crazy for us, but where are we at kind of moving into spring and summertime?
So we have action-packed. We're going to do all kinds of things. We have the Colorado Challenge series that James is working on with the different runs and the road marches. And I know people love physical activity, so that's very important. Then we have our routine events, the 3 golf tournaments this year, the one in Pueblo at the Broadmoor and the Sanctuary. We're involved with the Grand Marshal reception for the St. Patrick's Day parade on the 14th of March. There's always something going on each month where we're reaching out to people in the community and trying to do those 3 things.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite event, a favorite fundraising time?
Well, the hoedown is unique to us. We're very proud of that. We just did the Salute to Heroes in Pueblo. I like any time that we can get in front of people, bring community members together. It's an election season now too, right? So we are hosting the gubernatorial candidates. We hosted Senator Bennett. We hosted A.G. Weiser. We're hosting Representative Lopez. So anybody that's running for office, I feel it's one of our duties to make sure veterans get to know who they are. So we use the Mount Carmel platform to do that. And that's unique this year as well. Mm-hmm. We're just thrilled to be the 30% that make it to 10 years.
That's true.
We're not going to stop. We're going to keep doing better. We're going to keep serving more people so that nobody falls through the cracks. And, my real goal this year is to look at what we do in-house with those services and how do we make them better? How do we make it more accessible? How are we reducing homeless? How are we preventing suicide? How are we making the family strong?
Well, next time you come on, it'll probably be early spring, so we'll get to kind of catching up about what's happened since this conversation, but it's always a pleasure to sit down with you. I feel like honored to be in your presence every time we come in here together.
As I do with you, Chapman.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Bob. I appreciate it.
Pleasure to be here.